Oh, hello folks, this is Steve 8B4L. I'm daydreaming a little bit before I go to bed. Today's the 12th of October 2025. So I was sitting here actually with YouTube and I spotted it offered me a certain video on ABC News. It offered me a video. Now, the stuff in Gaza is big news, but less than a day ago, they offered this one here. Gen Z protests sweep across continents. Now, I'm going to play 2 or 3 seconds from the beginning, and then you'll see why.
From Morocco to Madagascar to Nepal,
Listen for the countries.
From Morocco.
I was in Morocco in 1966. And actually, with that little introduction, I played it further to see what's going on in Morocco with Gen Z. Protests. Oh, don't we have protests here? They have Gen Z there too? Really? What's up with them? So I was playing the video, and then I came to her. She's part of that news video on ABC. News Live Prime, Huda Tak Abuz, Gen Z Moroccan protester. Now I'm going to say it again. I traveled across Morocco in 1966, hitchhiking. Well, no. I went halfway across Morocco on a bus to get across the desert. So I was interested. Who is she? And why do they have KHTEK in parentheses like it's her middle name or her nickname? KHTEK. And right there, the very first thing is Moroccan rapper. Isn't the Google search great? So there she is. She's on Instagram. And she's got a Wikipedia article. And the overview says, Ktak is the stage name of Huda Abuz, a Moroccan rapper and advocate for women's rights. Known for her raw lyrics and fierce attitude, she's considered a leading figure in Moroccan hip-hop, a male-dominated Okay. And I don't know where they are, but you can play things when you hear her sing. You can listen to her on YouTube Music and Apple Music. Oh, YouTube videos, there it is. So if you're interested, just play the videos. Now, let me wander a little bit. There are 9 billion people on this planet, but the world is smaller than you can imagine if you just look a little below the surface. Born in 1995, so she's 30 years old, in Knesset, Morocco. town in Morocco. It's a city in northern Morocco with a population of 131,000. It's also the name of the province that town is in. Now here's where I mean the world is small. So this is Google World Maps. Let me redo that. Oh, come on. I want the outline to remain. So you see it right there? Okay. You see it right there? In 1966, you see it right there? In 1966, I crossed by boat from Spain, Algeciras, Spain, to Tangiers. And I was in Tangiers for a few days, and then I started hitchhiking. Now, while we're looking at the up here, it said her education was college level at this university. She's from down here, but she went to university here. University. Does that sound like she came from a poor family? I doubt it. So after being in Tangiers for a few days, I wanted to go to Rabat, maybe even further than that, Casablanca. So I set out hitchhiking along this road here. And I got as far as here. And for the way it was going, I got out of a taxi ride. No, I was standing there with my thumb out. I thought I was getting desperate. The day was getting late. A taxi came by, and I was thinking of possibly running over and seeing if I could get a ride with him, because he stopped to talk to somebody on the side of the road. And just as I got up to the taxi, they had negotiated a fare, the guy there, and then they loaded 8 sheep, approximately, into the trunk and the back seat of the taxi, and then the guy got in with the taxi driver in the front, and they took off. I'm telling you what Morocco was like, right along the road there. But within a few minutes, a European-educated Frenchman, not a native Moroccan, stopped because he knew I wasn't an Arab, and he picked me up. But first I said, I'm headed toward Rabat. He said, no, I'm going to Meknes. What do you think? And I said, I'll do it. So instead of continuing on down to Rabat, I took this road with him to Meknes. I'm reminding you that we're talking about her. I came within 20 miles of where she was born and grew up. Small world. Just by chance, I'm watching an ABC News thing. They show a Moroccan rapper, Gen Z female, and it turns out that in 1966, I came within 20 miles of where she was born and grew up. Small world. And then I continued to Fez, and then across here with a stop in a place called Taza to Ujda. But I'm going to relate a little bit to what I learned in Morocco. Now they're transliterating something from Arabic. K-H-T-E-K. Khtek or Kekt. Shows her stage name, which means your sister, in Darija, which is Moroccan Arabic. Huh? Moroccan Arabic, as a deliberate challenge to the misogynic language often found in rap, which is dominated by males. The term is commonly used by men as an insult. Okay, her stage name is intentionally aggressive against males, at least in her culture. And they talk about how she freestyles and all that kind of stuff. Now, Maghrebi Arabic, often known as Darija, to differentiate it from literary Arabic. What does that mean? Is a vernacular, street slang, vernacular Arabic dialect continuum spoken in the Maghreb. What's the Maghreb? It includes Moroccan, Algerian, Tunisian, Libyan, Hassanian, and Saharan Arabic dialects. Maghreb Arabic is predominantly Semitic and Arabic vocabulary, although it contains a significant number of Berber loanwords. What does that mean? Now I'm going to translate this for you. The language, other than the colonial language, the language spoken in Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, and Egypt is Arabic. But the way they speak Arabic in Morocco, ordinary people in the street, to somebody in Cairo, for example, Cairo, Egypt, they would barely understand them. It's said that the Moroccan Arabic has some loan words from Berber. I remember when I was living in Raleigh, one time when I was out fishing, I met a guy who was from a certain place in Algeria, near Mascara. Yeah, the makeup Mascara, it comes from the name of a town in northern Algeria. And as we were talking along, just for fun, I said, "Do you consider yourself an Arab or a Berber?" And he said, "Berber." That's the ethnic group there. And they have their own language, which is not Arabic. That dates way back. But it's the Berber people are kind of spread along here. Once or twice as I was crossing North Africa, I actually went to a movie. Now, the movies weren't in English, and the subtitles were in French, because Morocco and Algeria and Tunisia were French colonies at one time, and still had a lot of French-speaking people. And somebody told me, you know, as you go from one place to another, people barely, even though they're speaking Arabic, they barely understand each other. And as an example, he said, do you know that in Arabic there are more than 1,000 words for tea? To drink, tea. Tea is drank everywhere in the Muslim world, Arab world, and every place has its own favorite local word for it. So you might be from Tripoli, Libya, and you order tea with your favorite local name for it, but you're in Rabat, Morocco, and they have no idea what you're asking for. Now, you notice a moment ago I was talking about going to the movies. If there's 1,000 different words for tea, how can you make a movie in Arabic and show it across the Arabic-speaking world, which extends even to here, right? How can you make a movie? Because I saw movies that were in Arabic and they were done in Arabic. And the answer is, at that time they said, it's the same Arabic as on Radio Cairo. Classical Arabic. So the movies are made in a type of Arabic that virtually no one actually speaks. But everybody understands, because at that time, all of the Arab world used to listen, 1966, used to listen to Radio Cairo broadcasts, especially about the magnificent, charismatic Abdel Gamal Nasser, president of Egypt. He was considered the leader of the Arab world against the Europeans and against Israel and against everybody else, with the help of the Russians. Classical Arabic is the standardized literary and linguistical form of Arabic used from the 7th century, preserved in religious texts like the Quran and pre-modern literature. It's considered the purest form of the language and is different from the spoken I didn't read this before. And it's different from the spoken dialects used in daily communication, and it's also different from the modern standard Arabic, which presumably they make television and TV in now for broadcast through the Arabic world. Nobody speaks it, everybody understands it, which is the current form used in media and formal context. Many people learn classical Arabic for religious reasons to read the Quran. So when I was in Algeria and I went to the movies, it was a war movie. I remember how the guy got the arrow right in the forehead. But it was in classical Arabic. Now, is that unusual? See, my mind is wandering, but is that sort of thing unusual? When I was in Israel, the state broadcasting was called Kol Yisrael, Voice of Israel. And all the announcers, newsreaders and everything, You'd be riding a bus, an Egged bus. It's at the hour. Beep, beep, beep. You're riding the bus and suddenly the bus driver, it's right at the hour, the bus driver has turned the radio on and it's on the loudspeakers in the bus. Beep, 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 Kol Yisrael, Charashot, the news of the day. And for 5 minutes, everybody goes silent and listens because war or trouble could break out at any time. People were fascinated to know what was happening. Remember, this was the year before the 1967 war, and there were incidents occurring. And what I learned was the broadcast on television was introduced after the Six-Day War. Kol Yisrael broadcast in classical Hebrew, spoken Hebrew, which almost no one spoke in Israel. I only knew one person that could. But everybody understood. So whether they had immigrated from Morocco, like some of the people, or Yemen, like some of the people I knew and worked with, the people in their Arabic accented Hebrew from Yemen cannot understand the Moroccan Arabic accented Hebrew. Do you understand that? But they all understood classical Hebrew because that was the lingua franca of communication. So what I just told you was no different than what I learned traveling across North Africa about Arabic. And some of you may be old enough to remember that in the 1950s and 1960s, when television especially became predominant, but with the radio networks and then television, the evening news, irrespective of where it was broadcasted, and irrespective of where the news broadcasters were originally from, was broadcast in a certain dialect of East Coast English. And there were no Texas accents or anything mixed in there, unlike the way it is now. So we were no different also. But I never realized that until I was in Morocco and traveled across North Africa. Maghrebi Arabic is predominantly Semitic and Arabic vocabulary, although it contains a significant number of Berber words, loan words, some Libyan Arabic, some Algerian Arabic, some Tunisian Arabic, and there are Arab speakers also in Sicily. They've got their dialect, and there are Arab speakers in Malta, and they have their dialect. Dialects of Arabic: Algerian, Moroccan, Libyan, Tunisian, Assyrian, Saharan. See the map? Is my head covering it? Siculo Arabic from Sicily. Andalusian. You mean there used to be Muslims in Spain and Portugal? And there's still people there that speak Arabic? I'm just having fun with it, folks. So the point is, I was watching this YouTube video for ABC News about Gen Z. Oh, I got one more thing to say. And they showed her, and they said she's from Morocco, and I decided to follow her. And when I was in Morocco, I came within 20 miles of where she was born. Of all of the people they could pick out, and for some reason I decided to look at this news thing, I came within 20 miles of where she grew up. And Morocco's a big country. Oh, so what is Gen Z protesting? I can boil it down. Unemployment rate in Morocco. (2025). The unemployment rate in Morocco was 12.8% in the second quarter of 2025, a slight decrease from the year before. This figure is down from 13.1 in the second quarter of 2024. It represents the decline in the number of unemployed people. But wait a minute, that's the whole population. Let's see if it can. Unemployment rate of Gen Z in Morocco, 2025. According to Morocco's official data for the second quarter of 2025, remember there are riots like there are in among other countries, the unemployment rate for young people aged 15 to 24 was 35.8%. While this specific age group closely overlaps with Gen Z, they don't track Gen Z per se. When I was in Morocco in 1966, I can remember a conversation with a young Gen Z aged person it was either Meknes or Fez, I forget which of the two. There was another American sitting at the table and we were speaking in pidgin French with him. He was trying to save up some money so that he could go to France. Why? Because he had no future there. That's what he told us. I have no future here. For people my age, the unemployment is 50%. See how much things have improved? Instead of 50% in 1966, now it's only 36%. She's a rapper and she went to a university. She comes from a rich family. Not much has changed in Morocco since 1966. They riot in the streets today. They all have their smartphones. But in 1966, the equivalent thing was all of the young Moroccans who were going to find a way to go to, and Algerians, to go to France because there was some hope of actually getting a job. Why do Moroccan Arabs, and it might be Algerian, why do Moroccan Arabs burn cars on New Year's Eve in France? The annual burning of cars at random, cars on the street, crowds going around, smashing them and just burning cars at random. in France on New Year's Eve. How do I know about that? Well, I've been in France. The annual burning of cars. Notice how they say that. It happens every year. The annual burning of cars in France on New Year's Eve is not specifically a Moroccan Arab phenomenon, but a complex issue involving marginalized youth in low-income housing projects, often in areas with large immigrant populations. North African immigrant, Arab Muslims. They were the seed of it. It might have expanded to others that have invaded France, just like they come across the Mexican border to the States. The actions stem from deep-seated social economic issues rather than specific cultural practice. I agree with that. Attributing it solely to one, see, they're trying to be politically correct. Don't solely to one ethnic group is an oversimplification of the underlying problems. Key factors contributing to the, now see, don't blame it on the Moroccan Arabs. Now hang on. So what's the next paragraph? I haven't seen this before. Young people in the impoverished suburbs known as banlieue, where many immigrants from North Africa and other countries live, often experience high unemployment and discrimination. The car burnings are a spectacular and defiant expression of anger and frustration over the conditions and perceived indifference from the French society. But they're not French. Oh, but my grandfather came in 1966 and nothing has changed. The act began as a form of ritualistic protest in the 1980s, primarily to draw media and government attention. So now she's a rapper using vulgarity and is very popular, and now it's Gen Z that's protesting about the lack of a future. How is Gen Z any different than back then? The media coverage of the tallies reinforced the cycle as gangs in rival housing projects sometimes compete to see who can burn the most cars on New Year's Eve in France. Tensions with the police. Desire for recognition. It's a matter of a sense of pride. Insurance fraud and other motivations. I know somebody wants us to burn his car because it's a wreck, but it'll be worth more if he can collect the insurance from if we burn it up. That's what that paragraph means. The car burnings are a symptom of the complex socioeconomic issues, not an inherently Moroccan or Arab tradition. It could be talking about Baltimore. The behavior is rooted in specific experiences of marginalized youth in France's poor suburbs, a population that is disproportionately of immigrant descent from North African countries, including Morocco. Okay, now, they drew some of this from the Seattle Times, November 16, 2005 article. Between January and the end of October, 30,000 cars had already been torched across the country. Oh, but wait a minute. All right, January 2nd, 2022, this year, 874 cars were set alight. The annual event started in 1988 near Strasbourg. I just wanted to get the picture. I just wanted to get the picture of the burning car. Feuds claim scams, rebels, Why French cars get burnt at New Year's Eve.
From Morocco to
As soon as she said Morocco, I decided to watch the whole thing. And then I got to her, and that's what started it all. And when I was hitchhiking in France, I got a ride to Meknes, which is less than 20 miles from the town, small city where she was born and grew up. Bingo. When I came back to this country in the late 1974 from Israel, where I landed back where I grew up, the unemployment rate was 10%. And getting worse. It was at 10% when I got back. It continued up. Early 1975. What was my solution? I went to work at Burger King until the economy improved enough that I could get a real job. Steve A. Befoya. See, I relate to all this. Nothing has changed. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Gen Z is just the latest talking label. Steve A. Befoya saying, see you in 73.